Think about how often, you casually toss around words like smart or wise. Oh, they're so smart. Or maybe that was a truly wise decision. We use them all the time, yeah.
All the time. They feel almost interchangeable sometimes.
Exactly. But if I ask you right now, could you really pin down the distinct differences between, say, knowledge, intelligence, smarts, and wisdom?
It's surprisingly tricky, isn't it? We tend to blur them together.
Well, welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're actually setting out to unpack those very nuances. Our source material makes it really clear that while these terms, yeah, they often get blurred, they represent really unique, powerful aspects of how we think and act.
That's absolutely right.
Hmm.
And our mission for you listening in is to walk away from this deep dive with more than just, clear definitions. We really want to give you insights into yourself, maybe into the people around you too.
Yeah.
Help you understand what's actually driving decisions, the good ones and, well, the not so good ones.
Think of it as kind of a shortcut, maybe. A shortcut to being genuinely well-informed without drowning in just, like, random information.
Precisely. Getting to the core of it.
Okay, let's start at the beginning then. The foundational stuff. The first pillar, knowledge.
Right. Knowledge. At its simplest, it's really just the accumulation of facts, information, skills. You get it through experience or education, just living and watching things. It's basically what you know.
Okay, like knowing water boils at 100 Celsius, or remembering historical dates, or maybe knowing how a car engine works, that kind of thing.
Exactly. Facts, data, information.
Yeah.
That's knowledge.
But here's something interesting our sources really dig into. Just knowing a lot doesn't automatically mean you use it well, right?
That's a huge point.
You could have like an encyclopedic memory, but still make some pretty questionable choices in life.
That's the critical distinction.
Yeah.
That specific limitation that knowledge alone doesn't guarantee you'll apply it right or show good judgment that leads us straight to the next concept, intelligence.
Okay. So intelligence is different how?
Well, it's not just what you know. It's more about the ability to acquire knowledge, understand it, and then crucially, apply it. Apply those skills. It's about your reasoning, your problem-solving capability, how well you adapt when things change. The focus shifts to how you process what you know.
Ah, I see. And our sources mention different types of intelligence too, like Howard Gardner's ideas.
Exactly. It's not just about logical or mathematical ability, the classic IQ stuff. Gardner talks about emotional intelligence, spatial, linguistic, multiple ways to be intelligent.
So if knowledge is the data, intelligence is kind of like the processor, the software making sense of it all.
That's a great analogy, yeah.
Yeah.
Someone highly intelligent might grasp abstract ideas really fast, or solve tricky puzzles, or learn languages super quickly.
But what are the downsides or limitations? Does being highly intelligent mean you're automatically a good person or make sound choices?
Not at all. That's the key limit here. Intelligence can be incredibly powerful, absolutely, but it can be misused. Or it might just stay underdeveloped if it's not, challenged. It doesn't just by itself mean someone behaves ethically or has empathy or emotional maturity. A brilliant mind can still make some really damaging decisions.
That makes total sense. Okay, so we have what you know, knowledge, and how you process this intelligence. What's next in this quartet?
Next up is smarts. Now, this one's interesting. It's a very practical, often kind of street-level cleverness, problem-solving on the ground. It's really the capacity to make effective decisions in real time, often relying on instinct or maybe learned experience, social cues, not necessarily pure academic knowledge.
Right, so the focus is how well you operate in the world.
It's exactly.
But this feels like where book smarts versus street smarts comes in, doesn't it?
That's a classic distinction.
Book smarts being that academic theoretical stuff and street smarts being that situational savvy. Like someone who can negotiate a really tricky deal or just knows how to avoid danger somewhere unfamiliar or, figures out how to fix the leaky faucet without ever reading a manual. Just creative troubleshooting.
Yes, that real-world on-the-fly application is absolutely the core of smarts.
But there's a limit there too, I guess?
There is. The limitation is that smarts are often very context-specific. Someone who's incredibly street smart in a big city might feel totally lost, maybe even clumsy in a wilderness survival situation, or vice versa.
Okay. It doesn't always translate everywhere and maybe lacks like deeper long-term solutions sometimes.
You can, yeah. It might be more about immediate fixes than sustainable strategies.
Got it. Okay, so knowledge, intelligence, smarts. And that brings us to the fourth one. The one many consider the pinnacle. Wisdom. How do we define that?
Wisdom. Our sources frame it as this really deep understanding of life, of human nature. It's often hard won, gained through reflection, lots of experience. It inherently involves sound judgment, definitely a strong ethical compass, and this almost exquisite sense of timing, knowing when.
So the focus shifts again. This time it's how you use what you know ethically, empathetically, and with a long-term view.
Exactly. That long-term perspective is key.
So qualities like perspective itself, restraint, humility, foresight, that's all bundled into wisdom.
That's right. Those are hallmarks of wisdom.
Can you give us some examples? Make it a bit more vivid.
Sure. Think of someone who knows exactly when to speak up in a tense meeting, or maybe even more powerfully, when to just stay silent. Or someone advising a friend through a tough time, not just with logic, but with real compassion and clarity, seeing beyond the simple black and white options in a messy human situation.
What's interesting there is that wisdom's biggest perceived limitation, that it's slow, maybe not flashy, is also kind of its strength, isn't it?
Absolutely. You can't just download wisdom like an app update.
Right.
It often takes time, sometimes struggle, definitely deep personal work to cultivate it.
So just to quickly recap the core differences then, drawing from our sources, knowledge is what you know, but no guarantee you'll use it right.
Correct. Intelligence is how you think, your processing power, but it can be cold or, lack ethical grounding.
Smarts are how you act in the moment, practical solutions, but maybe lack depth or could even be manipulative if not guided by ethics. And wisdom. That's how you discern. It brings judgment, ethics, long-term insight, but it's often a slower, quieter thing to develop.
That's a perfect summary. Each one has its unique strength, and each has its potential blind spot.
Okay, but let's get practical. Why does untangling all this actually matter? It could feel a bit like just, arguing about words, but our sources argue it's way more profound than that.
Oh, it really is. Profound is the right word. Let's start with something fundamental. Clarity in thought and communication. Just understanding these distinctions helps us think more clearly and definitely speak more precisely.
How so?
Well, imagine calling someone smart when what you really admire is their deep knowledge on a topic. Or maybe praising their raw intelligence when what truly guided a good decision was actually their wisdom.
Oh, I see. That little mislabeling. It could actually obscure what really matters in that situation.
Exactly. It can lead to misjudgments about other people and maybe even about ourselves. Precise language, it turns out, really does pave the way for precise thinking.
And precise thinking usually leads to better choices, right?
Often, yes. Which flows right into the next point. Self-awareness and personal growth. When you distinguish these terms, you get a much clearer lens to look at your own strengths and weaknesses.
Okay, like I might realize, wow, I know a lot of stuff, I have a lot of knowledge, but maybe I need to consciously work on developing more wisdom.
Or perhaps, I'm quick-witted, I'm intelligent, but do I always apply that intelligence with enough empathy or enough foresight?
Right. It lets you set more meaningful goals for yourself, goals beyond just like cramming more facts into your head.
And crucially, it helps you spot your own blind spots. Our society and the sources really highlight this, often puts a huge premium on intelligence and knowledge.
Yeah, degrees, test scores.
Right. And sometimes we underappreciate the practical, adaptive skills of smarts, or the profound depth of wisdom, even though those are often what really help us navigate life's complexities.
And this understanding, it doesn't just start with ourselves, does it? It extends outwards.
Absolutely. That brings us to social insight. Armed with these distinctions, you can understand the people around you much better. Think about it. Someone could be incredibly intelligent, like capable of brilliant analysis, but simultaneously be quite unwise, making clever choices that ultimately cause harm, maybe to themselves or others.
Yeah, I can picture that. And the opposite, too.
Exactly. Someone might not seem traditionally book smart or score high on intelligence tests, yet they offer these incredibly profound insights because they possess real wisdom, insights that go way beyond formal education.
Recognizing those nuances, it must build more genuine empathy, help us value different kinds of cognitive strengths in people.
It really does. You start seeing strengths beyond just speed or cleverness, and that leads to some really deep societal and ethical implications.
Okay, how so?
Well, our sources make a compelling case about how society tends to reward these traits unevenly.
Right, knowledge gets you degrees, intelligence gets you admiration, maybe high-paying jobs, smarts. Well, smarts help you get by, navigate the system.
But wisdom, it often gets quietly overlooked, doesn't it? Only really valued, desperately needed when things are genuinely falling apart.
That's a powerful point. It's like a mirror for society. What traits do we actually reward versus what do we actually need more of?
And the insight here is pretty stark. Wisdom may not trend on social media, but it's what prevents collapse.
Wow, that hits hard.
And just to loop back to what we're doing right now in this deep dive,
Yeah.
the very act of defining these concepts, pulling them apart, that's an expression of knowledge. We're gathering facts, making distinctions,
Okay.
but asking why it matters, exploring the implications. That's leaning into wisdom. It's looking beyond just surface clarity towards purpose, relevance, ethical weight.
So knowledge seeks understanding.
And wisdom seeks direction, purpose.
That's a perfect illustration of how they intertwine but are still distinct. Okay, so if we want to cultivate these things in ourselves, how do we actually do it? Let's start with intelligence. Is that just fixed, something you're born with, or can you train it?
Well, the sources suggest it's a mix. There are definitely innate aspects, like maybe baseline processing speed. Some elements of IQ seem to have a genetic component. But intelligence is absolutely something that can be sharpened.
Okay, good news. So how do you train it? What's the mental workout?
Engage with things that feel hard. Seriously, tackle logic puzzles. Immerse yourself in complex problems. Maybe dive into advanced math if that's your thing. Or learn a new language.
Push the boundaries.
Exactly. Continuously expose your brain to novelty. Learn new skills, new disciplines. And here's a great one. Try teaching what you've learned to someone else. It forces your brain to structure the information, spot the patterns.
Right, you really have to understand something to explain it well. You see that in action with people who, say, pick up coding really fast, or like a chess master seeing moves way ahead.
That's intelligence at work, processing complex information effectively.
Okay, what about knowledge? How do we build that stockpile?
Knowledge is overwhelmingly nurture, not nature. It's built through intentional effort, time, study, repetition, and really importantly, curiosity. Anyone with discipline and access to information can become incredibly knowledgeable.
So the training regimen for knowledge is?
Read a lot and widely, not just things you agree with or subjects you already know.
Huh.
Books, articles, primary sources, different viewpoints.
Don't stay in an echo chamber.
Definitely not. And organize what you learn, whether it's taking notes, using mind maps, whatever works for you. And critically, aim for layered understanding. Don't just stop at what. Ask how and why.
Like a doctor needing to know hundreds of symptoms and how they connect, or a mechanic understanding not just the parts of an engine, but how they function together.
Precisely. Deep, structured understanding.
Okay, next up, smarts. How do we cultivate that practical cleverness?
Smarts are also largely nurture, developed through experience, though maybe temperament plays a role too, things like flexibility, confidence. It really blossoms from direct experience.
So to get smarter in that practical sense, you actually have to get out there, do stuff.
Pretty much. Put yourself in real-world situations. Travel somewhere new. Negotiate for something, even something small. Volunteer in an unfamiliar setting. Try improvising.
And learn from mistakes. Pay attention to how others handle things.
Absolutely critical. Learn from when things go wrong. Watch people who are good at navigating tricky situations. You can even practice thinking on your feet. Improv games, simulations, mock interviews, things like that.
That's the person who can talk their way out of a parking ticket, maybe. Or fixes the sink just by fiddling with it until it works.
That's the vibe, yeah. Intuitive, practical problem solving.
And finally, wisdom. This feels like the trickiest one to train.
It is. It's predominantly nurture, but it uniquely seems to require a certain level of maturity, significant life experience, and deep, consistent reflection. It's often strengthened through adversity, actually, through struggle, through loss, and often through having wise mentors or guides.
So how do you train something that seems so tied to life just happening to you, often painfully?
It's a great question. Our sources offer some powerful suggestions. One is to reflect often, like really deliberately. Journaling, meditation, consistently asking yourself, what really matters here?
Pausing to think.
Yes. And seek out wise people. Surround yourself with mentors, elders, people whose judgment you respect. Listen to them.
Makes sense. What else?
Expose yourself to moral dilemmas, not necessarily by creating them, but through reading philosophy, deep literature, engaging with complex ethical case studies, or just paying attention to the tough choices life presents.
And you mentioned restraint earlier.
Crucial. Practice restraint. Learn to pause before you react, especially when emotions are high. There's a beautiful line in our source material, wisdom grows in the pause.
Wisdom grows in the pause. I like that. Thinking of someone choosing not to send that angry email or letting go of being right to preserve a relationship.
Those are acts of wisdom. Often quiet, often involving a choice not to do something.
Okay, so summing up the cultivation part,
Huh?
it feels like each trait needs a different kind of soil to grow in.
That's a lovely way to put it, yeah. Intelligence thrives on mental stimulation, challenging novelty.
Knowledge needs intentional learning, broad exposure to information,
Smarts are sharpened by real-life practice, getting your hands dirty, improvising.
and wisdom that seems to need reflection, empathy, and the often difficult lessons learned from experience.
You've got it. Different paths, different practices for each.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting for me, maybe even a bit fun. Let's think about your mind like an RPG character sheet, from a role-playing game.
Uh-huh. I love that analogy. Go on.
So each of these traits, knowledge, intelligence, smarts, wisdom, they're like trainable stats on your character sheet.
That's a fantastic way to visualize it. And what's great about that is, yeah, maybe you start with some natural buffs or affinities, right?
Yeah.
Some people seem naturally quicker intellectually or maybe more intuitively insightful.
Right, some initial stat bonuses.
And this is key, all four can grow significantly through experience, through deliberate practice, through intention. Nobody's just born wise or born smart and stays that way. We're all composite builds constantly evolving.
It's not fixed. And like you said, high intelligence doesn't automatically grant you wisdom. Huge knowledge doesn't guarantee you're practically smart.
Exactly. That's where the grind comes in, to use the RPG term. Life experience, effort, learning from failure, humility, that's what levels up these skills over time.
So these stats, they're not just separate things, they actually work together.
Oh, absolutely. They're incredibly interdependent. Knowledge is like the raw material, the data.
Okay.
Intelligence takes that data and processes it, turns it into strategies, finds connections.
Right.
Smarts then applies those strategies out there in the messy, chaotic, real world. Reacting quickly, adapting.
And wisdom, where does that fit?
Wisdom is the guide. It decides when and why you should use your knowledge, intelligence, or smarts. Or, just as importantly, when you should hold back. It provides the ethical framework, the long-term perspective.
So, using the RPG analogy again, knowledge is your inventory, all the stuff you've collected.
Yeah.
Intelligence is your processing power, maybe your spellcasting ability. Smarts are your reaction speed, your dexterity, how you handle surprises in combat. And wisdom, that's like your alignment, your tactical choices, knowing the right time to fight or flee or negotiate.
That maps really well. It shows how you need all of them working together to be truly effective.
And you don't have to just pick one path, right? You can multi-class, as they say in games.
Definitely. You can combine these strengths. For example, a knowledge plus wisdom build that might look like a really insightful philosopher, maybe a compassionate therapist. Deep understanding paired with sound judgment.
Okay, what about intelligence plus smarts?
Ooh, that could be your brilliant hacker, maybe. Or a really cunning military strategist. High processing power combined with practical, adaptive execution.
I like that. How about smarts plus wisdom?
That could be a really intuitive coach, someone who just gets people and situations. Or maybe a beloved community leader who navigates complex social dynamics effectively and ethically.
And the classic academic, knowledge plus intelligence. Diving deep into research, making connections.
Your academic powerhouse, exactly. Building vast, complex structures of understanding.
The core message here seems pretty clear then. The most effective people, both internally and externally, they work on balancing all four.
That's right. And no stat ever truly reaches its maximum level. Only your willingness to keep training it, keep leveling it up, does.
But let's get into some deeper nuances now, because it's probably not always so clean-cut in real life, is it?
Definitely not. Our sources point out the overlap and the blurred boundaries all the time.
How so?
Well, for instance, high intelligence can sometimes look like wisdom, right? Someone expresses themselves very eloquently, very logically.
Yeah.
But their underlying judgment might actually be flawed or lack empathy. It's intelligence masquerading as wisdom.
I can see that. And maybe smart's mistaken for intelligence.
Yeah, someone comes up with a clever, quick fix that looks really intelligent.
Yeah.
But it might lack deeper understanding, or maybe it creates other problems down the line. Quick smarts aren't always deep intelligence.
And you mentioned context earlier. These traits aren't always consistent across someone's whole life.
Exactly. They can be very domain-specific. Someone might be incredibly wise when it comes to relationships, giving fantastic advice, but be completely reckless with their finances. Their wisdom in one area doesn't automatically translate.
That's a really important nuance. And building on that, our sources really emphasize wisdom as more than just a stat. It's like a moral compass.
Yes, That's crucial. It's not something you can just grind for points like in a game. Wisdom often involves active restraint, choosing not to act,
Yeah.
even when you could gain something.
Or sacrifice. Choosing the long-term good over a short-term win.
Exactly. And deep empathy. The ability to really consider things from outside your own perspective. It often develops, as one source puts it, more like a scar than a stat.
Wow. More like a scar.
Yeah. Painful sometimes, definitely nonlinear, and often not fully under your control. It comes through living, through messing up, through reflecting on it all.
Which naturally makes you think about the role of environment, doesn't it? If it's like a scar, how much control do we really have?
It's a huge factor. While our effort matters, our sources stress that context is critical. Think about it. Knowledge thrives where there are resources, libraries, schools, internet access.
Right.
Intelligence is often nurtured where curiosity is encouraged, where there are intellectual challenges.
Okay.
Smarts tend to get sharpened in environments that are a bit unpredictable, maybe even chaotic, where you have to think on your feet.
Like a busy city, or maybe a challenging job.
Could be. And wisdom. Wisdom seems to bloom in spaces where vulnerability is okay, where quiet reflection is valued, where people practice deep listening.
So our build, our character sheet, is constantly being shaped by our world, our upbringing, experiences, mentors, the culture around us.
Absolutely. The idea of pure self-development, completely isolated from context, is really just a myth. Our environment plays a huge role.
And here's another warning sign from the sources. Too much of a good thing. Can these traits actually become liabilities if they're not balanced?
Oh, definitely. Each one, if it runs unchecked, can cause problems. What happens if you have vast knowledge, but no wisdom to guide it?
Arrogance. Just hoarding facts without purpose.
Precisely. Or intelligence without practical smarts.
Brilliant ideas that are totally impractical, or maybe getting stuck in analysis paralysis, just thinking forever.
Exactly. And smarts without an ethical compass, without wisdom.
That sounds like manipulation, opportunism, using people.
Oh, yep. And even wisdom, if it's not grounded in enough knowledge of the situation, can sometimes lead to vague advice, platitudes that don't help. Or maybe even paralyzing indecision because you see too many complexities.
So the key insight isn't just adding these things up.
No, it's about balance. They need to regulate each other. Act as checks and balances within us.
Fascinating. And just briefly, different fields look at this differently too, right? Like cognitive psychology.
Yeah, psychologists often talk about things like fluid intelligence, that raw reasoning power versus crystallized intelligence, your accumulated knowledge and skills. And they often see wisdom as this really complex, integrated function involving emotions, cognition, social understanding, something that develops later in life, usually.
And philosophy.
Well, you have ancient traditions like Socrates famously saying true wisdom is knowing you don't know. It's about intellectual humility, recognizing your own limits.
Right. Not about having all the answers.
Exactly. And finally, cultural perspectives are huge. Our definitions are often really culturally biased. What counts as smart in downtown Manhattan might seem foolish or aggressive in a different cultural context, maybe an Eastern tradition that values harmony and collective well-being over individual cleverness.
So smart or wise isn't universal.
Not entirely, no. The emphasis changes.
Okay, so as we bring this deep dive toward a close, the main takeaway seems to be that these traits, knowledge, intelligence, smarts, wisdom, they aren't fixed labels, not things you are.
Exactly. Think of them more like ongoing practices, dynamic capabilities that shift and evolve based on the situation, the challenges you face, and your own conscious intention.
You're a living system, constantly refining, rebalancing these aspects within yourself.
You're not just smart or wise or knowledgeable, full stop. You're this incredible system of growth, always striving, full of potential. Each trait is a tool you can use, a teacher you can learn from, a mirror for understanding yourself.
I like that framing. Knowledge shows you the world. Intelligence helps you decode it. Smarts help you navigate and survive it.
But wisdom.
Oh.
Wisdom helps you choose who you want to be in that world, how you want to live.
There's no final destination here, is there? Just constant refinement, continual rebalancing.
A graceful returning to the work of becoming fully human, perhaps. Sometimes you'll feel sharp and clever. Sometimes you'll feel humbled and reflective. Sometimes neither.
And that's okay. That's not failure. It's just part of the journey.
Exactly. So the invitation is really to tend to each part of yourself. Train what feels weak, maybe. Temper what feels too strong or unbalanced.
And maybe trust that the very act of asking these questions, thinking about these deep concepts, that already places you firmly in the company of the wise.